Good morning. Oh, I think you're muted.
There we go. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm Rebecca.
Nice to meet you, Rebecca. I'm Davis.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
We've never met before, so this is cool.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you for doing this. We are
Yeah, of course. This is cool. I'm excited. Like to join more often.
Yes, for sure. So we do this once a month.
Okay.
And then we do one other event a month. So whether
Gotcha.
it's like a class or a social, just meet at a brewery type thing, we're trying to mix it up so just to get everybody excited about it.
Yeah, cool.
So we launched this well, it was like a few months before the pandemic started. So it was like interesting navigating launching this while in the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely not easy.
Yes.
Yeah, we joined KW like in February of last year.
Okay.
And so we really didn't get to do anything.
Yes.
KW wise, and then by the time things opened back up in May or whatever it was kind of off to the races. So it was an interesting way to get acclimated for sure.
Right.
But
and I feel like KW, I don't know, I just get so much value out of being around people and kind of the networking opportunities and the classes and all of that. And so it was definitely probably an interesting transition.
For sure.
Not ideal, but
yep. But it's all worked out. It's been great. But that was part of the reason we came, was just because of the people and the atmosphere. And then 30 days into it, you're like, oh, we're stuck at home. But
right.
Ever since then, it's been great. It's been wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're excited to talk to you. I'm excited to learn a little. Honest, if I'm being quite honest, like I don't know a whole lot about you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool because I'll be learning with everybody else.
Cool.
So we have one person on. I'm sure we're gonna have some more hop on. So we posted this. We asked people to post this like in their Facebook pages. Like in the office Facebook pages. So
yeah. Is this just the triangle or is it Carolinas?
So it's the triangle. So
Gotcha.
We actually pull from 7 offices: Chapel Hill, Durham, Briar Creek, Six Forks, Garner, Apex, and Cary.
Wow.
That's all.
Nice. God,
Yeah,
that was
so
awesome.
we have a lot of KW offices here. So
yeah.
Do you have a busy day?
Yeah, I did. How about you?
Pretty busy. Yeah, I have a couple showings and then I have a listing appointment later in Fuquay. So
take that in this market, whatever.
I know.
Anytime you can get one.
Exactly.
Cancel whatever else you were doing and be there. It is crazy.
I know. It really is.
It's just crazy. I mean, I can't imagine buying a house completely sight unseen and putting $30,000 down. And
oh my gosh.
Just me personally, I don't have the personality for that,
Yeah. I'm just waiting for there to be. I feel like there has to be lawsuits at some point. You know what I mean? It's just such a risk.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things. If you got to do what your client asks you to do as well, so
for sure.
It's tough right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna let a couple more people hop on. I hope the Zoom link, I'm sure it was right. So do you know Megan at all, or do you Kate is the one that kind of recommended you?
Yeah. No, I don't know Megan.
Okay. Let's see. We'll give people a few more minutes.
Yeah.
8:30
is early for real estate agents.
That's right. Well, so I don't know if Kate told you, but her and Steven are traveling. I think they were saying they're going to try to get on, I think they're heading out of town or something.
Nice.
So. Let's see, I guess. Surprised Megan's not on yet. I mean, I guess we can go ahead and get started. So, for one, I want to just tell everybody we like this to be as interactive as possible. So it's not just us talking. So if anybody has any questions, just hop on and ask the question. But I guess first of all, we just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into real estate and all of that.
Yeah. So I've been an agent now for 8 years, and I kind of grew up in it. My mom has been an agent for 23 years now, and my dad was in construction lending. So he lent money to builders my entire life. So that was kind of the world I grew up in. And yeah, I worked at the Wolfpack Club for like 3 months after I graduated from college. And my mom coerced me into going to get my license. And yeah, it's been ever since then. And it's been a fun ride, that's for sure. Definitely a different journey than what most people our age have experienced, for sure. But it's been fun. And then personally, I'm married and have 2 1-year-olds at home that keep my life completely insane at all times.
That's awesome. So, what did you get your degree in? Like, was real estate something you always kind of thought about doing, or was it something your mom kind of pushed you
Yeah, she definitely coerced me into it. I cannot say that I was planned on it by any means. It was kind of just by accident. And I don't know if I thought I would be a realtor for forever. And even when I got my license, I was like, we'll see how this goes. And but as we all know, once you kind of get in it, you get the bug a little bit, and then you can't let go, and then you just get more and more competitive, and you're like, I have to get better and better, and I can't let this go. And so yeah, I did not mean to do it, but here we are today. So I think that happens a lot to people too in our industry.
Yeah. Let's see. So, are you from here? Are you from Raleigh and your mom's from?
Okay. I am a Raleigh native. Yeah, which has been cool. And it's funny when people come here and they're like, "You're from Raleigh," and I'm like, "Yeah, definitely." And but yeah, it's been fun to see the changes over the years, for sure. It's also great for business, just because being able to have connections that go back a long ways and a strong sphere of influence has definitely been beneficial to our business.
Right. Let's see. I was thinking of something else to ask you. I need to start writing them down when I think about it.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about, so where were you before you came to KW, if you don't mind telling us, and then just when did y'all come to KW?
Yeah, we were at RE/MAX before we came here. My mom had been there for about 15 years. And then, I'd been there 6 or 7 years, and it was great. And for the time that we were there, but we were looking to kind of grow the team a little bit. At that time, it was the 2 of us and 2 admin. and we wanted to gain some leverage, and KW definitely has the models to be able to do that, and Remax did not have that in place. And then I think, as I was telling you, Rebecca, some of the definitely part of the decision-making process too was just the atmospheres available at KW, the openness and the teamwork. I don't think you find that everywhere, but I think you definitely do find it at KW. Someone's always willing to help. Someone's always wanting to learn and jump in, and you can help them by learning. And so, yeah, it's been a really great experience. We came last year, as I mentioned, right before the pandemic. And at that point, my wife and I adopted our second 1-year-old. So we were in Florida as we made the move to KW. So we weren't even really here in person when we made that move. And then we got home and coronavirus set in. And so it was an odd 60, 90 days to get acclimated to KW, but everyone was very gracious, and it's been a wonderful year since then.
Awesome. So what does your team look like today? Because I know you said the goal was to build the team up a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So my mom and I, and then we have 2 buyers agents, and then we brought with us our transaction coordinator, who's been with us for 3 or 4 years now, and a listing and marketing coordinator who's been with us for about that same time as well. And so we have a really good team now, a really solid team in place. It's KW's been great as far as the buyer agents position. One was an agent who was here at KW and wanted to join a team, and she's been an absolutely amazing fit. And she definitely had some coaching and training before we got her that made super beneficial, but she's just a wonderful fit into our culture. And so, yeah, that's what our team looks like today.
Awesome. Is your goal to keep building that team out, or like keeping it kind of the size it is right now?
That's a good question. We've struggled with that. As a dad of 2 1-year-olds, it's a little difficult to show houses. And so that was definitely the point of that, and gaining that leverage. And so I don't know if we're going to grow too much more. I don't see myself wanting to run a team of 30 different buyers agents. That's just not my personality. 95% of our business last year was sphere, referral, or repeat business. And so, taking care of that business, you can't have a large team. You need to have people that you can get to know really well. So when you send them to a past client, you know that they're going to be taken care of the way that you expect them to be taken care of. And so I think for those reasons, we'll probably remain, small but mighty team.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you mentioned 95% sphere of influence and repeat and referral business. That's amazing for one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do y'all do to stay in touch, I guess, with these people? Like, are you doing client events, or, I guess what's kind of your process there just to stay in touch with people?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the one that always throws people off, that threw me off at first, I was like, no way does this work, but it's absolutely our best return on investment, is we send out a paper copy snail mail newsletter once a month. And, I think people look at that and they're like, no way. But we send that out to about 1,700 people. And that is absolutely our best return on investment. It's funny, we do like a little trivia in the back, and we offer movie tickets if you get the trivia question right. And we'll have people pull it out of the mailbox, and like they got it at 3, and at 3:01 they're texting trying to win the movie tickets. And so that's definitely our number one way, or our number one return on investment. So we do that. we do viral marketing, which is a video-based marketing service. And then, yeah, we typically do client events once a quarter. We do little pop-bys here and there. And then, just a few different things throughout the year. The client events are always beneficial. It's been a little tougher in the last year to do, but we're looking forward to being able to do one hopefully later this summer.
Awesome. So what types of client events do y'all do? Do y'all have, I guess, like a certain clientele that you focus on? And I'm guessing with you being there, it's changed a little bit since it was just your mom.
Yeah, a little bit. What's funny is, like right now, I'm helping my mom's very first client, his daughter, sell their house. It's just funny how that changes over the time and that family connection. But we've definitely focused on family type events. So we always do a movie once a year. We always do the Phillips Farms pumpkin event once a year. This summer, when school gets out, we're doing like a snow cone. Come get a snow cone and enjoy summer and at some park. And so, events like that definitely focus on the family. We always do as well a pie event. And I know that's like everyone does the pie event. I'm personally just amazed at how many people will drive from a long distance to get a $5 pie. I'm like, I'm buying this at Costco. Like, it's good, but it's just amazing how people will come and support your business, but also drive from a long way to come get a $5 pie. So that's been huge. Another thing we just did that was a really good success was we did a contest for Google reviews, and we had a nice prize, 2 nice prizes for that. And I'm just big on getting on Google now. I think Zillow's kind of changing the way they're doing their reviews, and I think to stay ahead of that, you're going to need to get reviews on Google more than Zillow. I think it's still beneficial to have them on Zillow, but I think it's going to be super important to have them on Google as well. And so that was big for us to be able to do that.
That's awesome. So like y'all are definitely more relationship based, it seems like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what is your kind of day-to-day look like? Like, what is your lead gen? Like, do you come in and lead gen, or what does that look like every day for you?
Yeah. So right now we are working hard on obviously finding listings. And so, a few different things that we're doing on that front is we're reaching out to our database and saying, hey, these are our current buyers. We have a buyer list 25, 30 deep of people who are ready to buy, but we can't find a house for them. And, let's talk about creative solutions. And I think that's, especially in the current market, we have to be willing to talk to people about creative solutions. We can't say, we'll put your house on the market and it'll sell. I think we need to be thinking about, well, obviously you're concerned about where you're going to go. And so what can we do creatively to find a solution for you? So those are some of the things that we do. But yeah, day to day, definitely do a lot of lead gen, a lot of conversations with Sphere folks and past clients and follow up. And then, in the afternoon, we do try to, if there's any fires that need to be put out, address those. But our TC is absolutely amazing, so it's rare that we have to jump in there.
That's nice. Some nice leverage right there.
Absolutely. Whenever I do a good bit of investing as well, and people are always surprised. I'm like, no, Daisy does all my repair negotiations. That is what she does, and she is absolutely amazing at it. And I think as agents, we forget sometimes that some people are better at what they do than what we do, and giving up that control is pretty important.
Right. So I know you just mentioned investing. What does that look like for y'all or for you?
Yeah, a partner and I started about 3 or 4 years ago. kind of just onesie twosies here and there, buy a rental property, flip a place, etc. That has grown significantly in the last year or so. We've been able to go out and raise some money from some different partners. And right now we have about 9 or 10 projects going on. A couple of those are under contract. And so honestly, we've been creating inventory for listings, and it's definitely an interesting time on that front. We're seeing some people who maybe are a little more inexperienced at the investment game, trying to come in and certainly paying prices that it's going to be difficult to come out on top. And I think maybe in this market, people are going to be able to overcome some certain things, but in a different market, it would be a concern. But yeah, that's what our business looks like today on that front. We are right now selling everything that we buy. I don't think there's a point in holding much right now. I think that time will come, and I could be completely wrong about that. There might be some stuff I wish we had held, but right now we're just planning to sell everything.
Awesome. So are you finding these like off market? Like how are you kind of securing these homes?
Yeah, it's a mix. We do find some on market, definitely. Try to avoid that, obviously, because we're going to be competing with a bunch of people. And so we do try to avoid that. But then, yeah, we do some off market. We have some leverage there as well, where we take advantage of some help to get letters out to folks and to make some phone calls and door knocking and et cetera on that front, which is beneficial to the listing side. Maybe somebody is in a good fit for, we're not going to flip their house. It's too nice, right? And so, or the numbers don't work, but maybe it's a good listing. So it's beneficial to both sides of the business, quite frankly. And I'm a big advocate that as real estate agents, we have the knowledge to be able to do this, and I think we should certainly find the ways to go out and do it, whether it's buy rentals or to invest in redevelopment of property. I'm just a big advocate that we should take advantage of our knowledge and the trust that people put in us. People already know, like, and trust us, and so how can we benefit from that to also help ourselves grow our business and grow our wealth as well.
Absolutely. You guys don't forget, if y'all have any questions, pop in and chime in and ask questions.
I got one, Becca.
Okay.
I want to go back to your newsletter real quick, Davis.
Yeah.
You said, 1,700 that you're sending, and it's snail mail, and that blows me away. I love that because number one, you have interaction in it, and that's a really important thing. Is it's not just here's the local news. Like, people get excited about that trivia piece, so that's really cool. Yeah. Is that 1,700 like past client, VIP, that sort of stuff, or is it a specific database? Who actually gets that?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a mix. So it is all of our, super VIP list. And then it's also anyone that we've met over the last 23 years. Mm-hmm. Anyone that we've been in front of for the last 23 years is getting that newsletter.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, we're pretty adamant about, if we meet someone, they're going on the newsletter list. Because they may not be ready to do something today. But yeah, that has absolutely been our best return on investment. And the engagement piece is funny too, because it does have the trivia piece, but we do a cover letter with it as well. And we always put, a lot of people consider us like family. And so we put some personal stuff in there, about the kids or whatever. And, it's just crazy. I'll never forget one time we put that I was going on vacation to Boston, and I probably got like 5 or 6 text messages of like, when you're in Boston, go do X, Y, Z. And so it's just interesting to do that. I think people just really like the personal connection.
Yeah.
that to have that piece in there.
How do you, like, so since you've already met most of these people, or I would assume, 99% at some point, you have a relationship, how do you actually source that ROI to the newsletter, right? Because it might be a past client, or they might have come in from an open house. What makes you consider the newsletter a success?
I think just, again, the engagement piece, but then it's also just what keeps us in front of people every single month. And we know that they're touching something that comes from us versus, viral. Viral's great in that you can see who's opened and clicked and all that stuff on your emails, which is wonderful. But that's going to fluctuate on a weekly basis, and you don't know who's maybe it went to spam, maybe it went into the promotions tab, etc. And so they didn't see it, and maybe they'll see it next week. But the newsletter, that they are physically at some point going to touch it and go, oh, there are the Holts. Yeah. And so I think that's a big part of why we consider it our best return on investment. And quite frankly, it's beyond the mailing piece of it, it's really not a major expense.
Sure. No, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have one handy that you can hold up? And now I'm just curious, what does it actually look like?
I don't think I do. It's literally an 8x11 piece of paper, with maybe 3 pages to it, folded up. And it does come in a larger envelope so that people, it stands out versus, just a regular envelope. But yeah, it's nothing special. It's nothing crazy or hard to do or anything like that. It's pretty easy to put together.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I think too now, because so much, well, for one, everybody's getting bombarded with so much email, and half the time you're ignoring it, as soon as it comes in your inbox. And then just for people to now, especially with the pandemic, to feel like they're connected to you, and just to get something physical in the mail is, I think that's just so important right now.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's awesome. So Brandy just asked in the chat what type of information is in your newsletter. She's been wanting to do one for a while.
Good question. It changes on a monthly basis. It's little things like 5 ways to protect yourself from identity theft. Basic. Trying to think of some other topics. I wish I could say that I came up with the topics, but
who's making this?
I was gonna say, I'd be willing to bet not you.
It's a service. It's called Service for Life, and you log in. There's a new newsletter in there every month. It's there's a subscription for that.
So you personalize your cover letter, but the content is not original, and that's more cool. You don't have to do all the work every month.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's super easy. I think the hardest thing is just being super consistent with it. And I think, again, it's not really the information that's in it. I don't know how many people pull it up. And although I will say there are sometimes you'll go in a house and I've seen people, people who love to keep paper, they have our newspapers or our newsletters stacked up on a side table or something where they've read page by page of that newsletter. But yeah, me personally, I don't know if the content is the most important thing. I think it's the connection. So I think it's the cover letter. I think it's the engagement of the trivia, doing that. But I think, that's the most important thing with it.
Awesome. So I'm curious, what CRM do y'all use? Are you using some, Command or something different?
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, Top Producer was the only available thing 20 some odd years ago. And so kind of hard to get rid of that at this point. So we use CRM, Top Producer for a lot. It's gotten better, but it's still not, I wouldn't write home about it by any means. And then we also use Boomtown for a lot of our, so that top producer is basically, you're going in there so we can make sure you get the newsletter and stay on our email list and etc. Boomtown is more of if you're coming in looking for a home, or we met with you and we need to, you're not ready to sell yet, and we want to set you up on a neighborhood update of when homes do sell in your neighborhood, etc. That's where we use Boomtown.
Cool. So you're like kind of more nurturing through Boomtown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you only work with sellers right now? Is that kind of how you build it out now that you have the buyer's agents in place?
Yeah, I would say 95% of the time. There are some people who just, if my in-laws are going to come buy a house, I'll certainly work with them, or super VIP. But yeah, I would say 95% of the time I'm working with sellers. We also do a lot of new construction. And so sometimes on that stuff, just depending upon the relationship, I'll work there as well with a buyer.
Gotcha. I guess so. When you say you do a lot of new construction, on the buy side or the list side?
We actually do both. We have one builder that we've worked with, my mom's worked with for 15, 16 years, and we've kind of meshed that relationship. And so he's one of the few guys, you can go find a one-off lot for him, and he'll build and list. And so he's one of those guys who's not stuck in a neighborhood. And so we help him a lot. And then some of the investment piece that we do is also new construction as well. So we certainly take that on. But then, yeah, on the buy side, we do a good bit of new construction each year. It's funny, I think right now we have, just given the lag time, and we have 3 or 4 that are set to close, in mid 2022. It's just crazy that it's taking that long for this stuff right now. You're sitting in a meeting this week to talk about a home that won't be ready until 2022, and you're like, this is crazy. But it's good to build the pipeline into next year for sure. But yeah, so we do a good bit on both sides, and just given the relationships that my dad had from being a lender to builders for 30, 35 years, we have some good connections with local custom builders throughout the triangle.
Right. Awesome. This question just popped in my head because I know it probably for me how it would be. What's it like working with your mom on a regular basis? I think me and my mom would butt heads for sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. I get that question all the time. We work really well together. We're very open with one another. So we work really well together. We have similar personalities. We're both pretty laid back, pretty easygoing until we need to not be so easygoing, and then once we get fired up, we're both pretty fired up. But we work really well together. It's interesting if we go on a listing appointment together, and we don't go on all of them. It depends on what the relationship is. But if we go on an appointment together, it's been super beneficial to be together to build trust with people. So like if we go on a listing appointment with maybe someone we don't know, and so we don't have a relationship with them, and we don't have that trust factor built in yet, and we go together, quite frankly, it's been easier to build trust with those people because they're like, you work with your mom and you work with your son, and so there's definitely some benefit in that piece. The downside, of course, is that at Thanksgiving you're like, did you get that contract signed last night? And so there's that piece, but it's not a big deal. Now that there's 2 grandchildren, that has kind of died down a little bit outside the office. But so we do work really well together. And I think, you kind of just have to separate it. When you're here, it's work, and when you go home, you're at home. And it's hard to do that in real estate. I think probably any job, but especially real estate. But you just have to kind of work on that piece.
What advice would you give to somebody considering getting into business with family? Like my husband's an MCA, so our date nights, we always end up talking about work, right? It just happens, and that's fine. Like we're good with that, but we don't work together. What advice would you give someone who's considering that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I think you just have to be okay with it, you know? And I mean, my wife and I dated for like 7 years or something before we got married. So she knew what she was getting into. And, you know, my dad loves to talk about it. He's retired now, so he loves to kind of feel like he's still got some investment in the real estate game. So, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things. You just have to be realistic about it and say, we're probably going to end up talking about this when we get home, and that's okay. You know, it's just part of it, and that's fine. I think it's, you can try to set these boundaries, but I think it's okay to be realistic with yourself as well.
Yeah.
So Jody asked in the chat, she said, I know you mostly represent sellers, but any advice for me representing first-time home buyers with a low budget and low due diligence right now?
Cool.
Any chance of finding a home or winning a home for them?
You know, well, I think a few things. One, I think you have to be super honest with them and say, like, how much cash do you have? Something else I'm hearing too that I think is really beneficial is ask them and ask them if they have a parent who maybe doesn't want to give them money up front, which is understandable, I understand. Or if they have someone, any type of family member that would consider if the purchase price and the appraisal don't match up, would that family member consider helping them cover the difference? I think anywhere where they can think of a way to be able to say that they have access to more funds than maybe what they have available to them is super beneficial. I would add too, I had a past client that one of our buyer's agents was helping, and she was using a VA loan, which is obviously hard in the current market. I think they wrote 10 offers and none of them got accepted. But what ended up working was they found a FSBO who had no idea what due diligence was, who was just more worried about what's the price I'm going to get. And they weren't really worried about the price because it was, you know, in line with everything else. So it was a good price. And I think they did like $100 in due diligence or something like that because the FSBO had no idea what they were talking about. And so I think that's an avenue too that should probably be explored. Just, you know, given the market conditions, it might be hard to compete with something that's on the market. But if you can find somebody who doesn't know how valuable due diligence is, that might be an avenue as well.
I love that. And I know one thing I've done for buyers that miss out is, you know, send a letter to that neighborhood and try to create, you know, something, you know, maybe it is a FSBO situation where you're just bringing them an offer directly and just having them agree to pay your commission.
Yeah, you know, what's funny too about FSBOs, this is a transaction going on right now. Past client, and he's super complicated. He owns like 30 gas stations in the Wake County area. So everything he does is cash. So he's super complicated in getting his financing. And we found a FSBO, and the seller was adamant that they weren't going to pay commission, and that was fine. He was completely fine paying the commission. And we got the appraisal back, and it appraised for $100,000 more than what we're under contract for. And so, you know, in my mind, that seller's great. You're saving some commission, but you also just lost out on $100,000. So I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity there to be able to find some wins for clients. It's just about going out and finding those people. To your point, Rebecca, a letter is great. Maybe circle prospecting as well, because in that as you circle prospect, you might be picking up a nurture that's going to list in 6 months. And so maybe it doesn't work for your buyer today, but maybe it's a listing you can take in 6 months.
I think it comes right back to what you said in the beginning, Davis. You said in the current market, we have to be willing to talk to people about creative solutions. And that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Where is the creativity coming in? Because what we did 18 months ago, it ain't working now.
No,
It's something different.
No, if you're just logging into TMLS every morning and hoping that a listing pops up, it's going to be tough.
No, I love that. Really good advice.
And one thing, just a little, I've been writing the letter on the back of their pre-approval, and I mark out their name, and I'm just like, hey, I have a pre-approved buyer for your neighborhood, and I've even heard, some people showing the first page of the offer they lost out and like crossing out all maybe the numbers or the names, but sending like, hey, it shows the address, it shows I wrote an offer on this property. So
yeah. No, I think that's huge. I think people get so many letters of different types of things, but if you have something, so on the investment side, that's something that we do as well. It's like, we don't say, hey, we want to buy your house. We say, hey, this is what we will pay you for your house. And I think there's a difference there when you're super upfront with people, like, hey, this is honestly a buyer who's ready to buy your house today, and they're pre-approved. And I think sending the first page of the offer is a great idea. I think that's awesome.
That's a good tip too. Here's what we're going to pay you. We just got a letter in the mail the other day saying we'll give you X amount. Like, we're making this offer right now. Call us if you're interested. And I was like, wow, that's a whole lot different and more compelling than we're interested in buying in your neighborhood. Are you interested in selling?
Right.
Like, oh, there's a number here. We actually talked about it, seeing that number. So another really good tip.
And it was probably a real number. It probably wasn't a range of 400,000 to 500,000.
Oh,
it was a real number.
It was a purchase price. Yeah. And it was reasonable. Like, it wasn't, we're going to give you 100,000 less than it's worth or 100,000 more than it's worth. I mean, it was a reasonable number. Like, it was interesting to see that. I've never seen the directness. It's just, we're interested in your neighborhood, or we're interested in your house.
Yep.
It's compelling.
Money talks. So
it does.
So
absolutely.
And you think about it, I think we think like people aren't going to sell, for that or whatever. But think about all the homes that Open Doors getting, and they're just blasting out letters, and that's all they're doing. And people are agreeing to sell their home for less than it's maybe even market ready, market value. So, people will pay for convenience too.
They absolutely will. And I think on that piece, like, as agents, we have to be upfront about that and say, like, hey, I understand you can sell to Open Door, and there's a convenience factor to that. I just lost a listing to Open Door, and they offered more than what I honestly think the house is worth. They're also in a business where they can spend more money than probably what a house is worth, because right now they don't have to make money. They can lose money and they're still okay. They still have a $45 billion market cap. And so they're fine if they lose a couple thousand. And so I think we have to be super honest with people, like, yeah, you can sell to Open Door, but here are the benefits you're losing, right? You don't have someone on your side. You don't have X, Y, and Z. And, for these folks that I lost the listing to, they decided to sell to Open Door. It was a convenience factor. They have 3 teenagers. They didn't want to get the house ready. And I understand that. I can't argue with that. I'm not sure with 2 1-year-olds I would certainly want to list my house right now. But I think we have to be honest. I think people think of like Zillow too. Zillow, on their website, it says they charge you 8.5%. I think there's a lot of agents out there who'll list your house for a lot less than 8.5%.
Exactly. Let's see. Okay, so what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in your real estate career, and what have you learned from it?
Definitely not being prepared for taxes. I learned that lesson my first year, and I think that is a hard lesson to learn. And it bit me, and I've been prepared ever since. But I think as agents, we miss that piece. and think, well, I'll catch up, I'll sell 2 more houses and catch up by the time I need to do it. That is not the way to play that game. I think you need to be prepared for that every single time that you get a check. You need to be putting money aside for that. And so because of that, we do have a bookkeeper and a great accountant, and I think you need to build that team around you to help you with that as well. That is definitely my biggest piece. And it doesn't matter, if you're only going to sell 5 this year, if you're going to sell, 200 this year. I think that piece is very important to make sure you get it right.
Have you taken any sort of financial courses or, KW classes, anything anywhere that kind of helps you prepare for that? Because that's definitely something I think most people struggle with.
Yeah.
This.
I'm a big proponent of Profit First, the book Profit First. I think there's now, I haven't read it, but I think there's now like a Profit First for real estate agents. I think it just came out like 60 days ago or so. I haven't grabbed it yet, but I will. But yeah, I'm a big proponent of Profit First. I think that's super important. And one of the key takeaways for me was, we build these businesses so that we can be in business for ourselves. But if we're not taking profit for ourselves, what's the point? What are we doing? We're just grinding out here for what reason? And the reason is so that we can set up our families and ourselves for, a wonderful future. And so, yeah, I'm a huge proponent of Profit First, definitely.
Awesome. I'm going to put a link in the chat box too for anyone who's listening for Profit Camp, one of the KW MAPS courses. It's actually coming up, I think, next week. So if that is helpful to anybody, I'll put that link in the chat box. But I've heard so many people say that since that book came out, the original version, I guess, that it's more than MREA now, right? That's their Bible right now. So
yeah,
it's a big one.
Yeah, definitely.
What is so true? I mean, Gary Keller's talking about this, but so many agents, maybe their GCI, their numbers look really good on paper on the MLS, but they're spending a whole heck of a lot of money and their net is not anywhere near that. So
yeah, and I think that's so funny because we all get caught up in the awards and the rankings and all that stuff. And I think if we could let that go and just say, this is what I'm taking home to my family, that's all that really matters. I mean, the awards are great and it's wonderful, but we're doing this to benefit our family. We don't, it doesn't matter what everybody, I saw yesterday, RAR now has 10,000 members of RRAR. There are 10,000 real estate agents in Wake County, at least, right? Don't get caught up in the awards. There's 10,000 of us. Somebody's going to probably be ahead, right? And so I think we just have to keep that piece in mind.
So on that note, kind of how do you keep your mindset up? How do you keep motivated? What's kind of your deal there?
Yeah. I mean, having the boys was a huge boost to running a little bit harder than maybe I thought I could, for sure. But I mean, yeah, I'm trying to build something. I was so fortunate to have something built where I could come in and help take over and run. And I want to build that same thing for my boys should they choose. That's what they want to do. If they don't want to do that, that's fine. But I want to have something built where that opportunity does exist for them and just pay it forward the way that it's been paid forward for me. And I've been blessed my entire life to be able to have some really nice things in my life. And I want to be able to provide that for my family. And so that's a huge aspect of the motivation for me.
So do you have a coach too right now or?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. We coach with Middleton Elite Coaching, Bill Middleton, and it's been really good for us. It's a great coaching company. I think my mom has had a coach for 15, 16 years now. And I think a coach is just absolutely imperative. We always pick up a nugget here and there of what we need to be doing to kind of move forward. I think it keeps you accountable too, which is the most important thing.
Yes, that's awesome. There's something else I was going to ask. I'm curious, like if you said you have to go out and get a listing today, what would you suggest to maybe a newer agent?
If I would hop on the phone and I'd find a hot neighborhood and I would just circle prospect that neighborhood, and I would keep circle prospecting until I found somebody willing to have a conversation. I think that's probably the best thing to do. I don't think we can call expireds right now. If it expired, it's probably expired for a reason. And FSBOs think they can do it on their own right now because houses sell themselves, right? And so they can just do it on their own. So I would circle prospect until I found somebody willing to have that conversation. I think that's the best thing to do right now.
What does that script look like if you're circle prospecting?
I think it looks like, do you like money? Because if you do, we can make you a lot of it right now. No, I think it's, again, one of those conversations of, hey, I understand that you may want to sell and maybe you're afraid of where you're going to be able to go. Here's some creative solutions that I can think of, but maybe we could meet and find some other solutions together so that we can get you to the place you want to go and help you benefit from taking advantage of the great market that we're currently in.
Awesome. Does anybody have any more questions? Anything you can think? He's like a nugget of information, like a wealth of information right here, gold mine.
I have one more. I want to know what got you interested in being on the MLS board.
So I am on, so I'm on the Raleigh Regional Board of Directors and the NCAR Board of Directors. And my feeling is I just wanted to have a seat at the table. And there's some decisions made there that I think are important. And I think we sign up and we pay our dues and then we don't know what happens down there. And there's a lot that happens down there that kind of gets left out. Yeah. You know, last year, there was a lot of lobbying that happened to be able to keep real estate agents as essential workers, which would have been, you know, terrible for our business. And who knows what the market would have looked like if it hadn't been that case. And there was a lot of lobbying that went on behind that. And there were a lot of people involved in that. And I think we forget that sometimes. But I think as the industry evolves over the next 3 to 5 years, and I think it's going to evolve drastically. You know, I heard somebody say recently that in the last year, we've had 10 years of innovation in residential real estate, which I think is true. And I think we're going to see a lot more over the next 3 to 5 years. And I think some of the decisions that are made are going to be imperative to our industry and to our livelihoods. And I just feel it's important to be able to have a seat at the table and make those decisions on behalf of 10,000 people. And I think we need to make sure that the people who are there, I'm going on a tangent now, and I'm not trying to, but some of the people who get super involved with that in that side of the world are not always your super producers by any means. They're more there for the party. And I think we need to make sure that we have people who are active in the industry making some of those decisions.
Love that.
Anybody else have anything? Come on, y'all, stop being shy.
If anyone thinks of questions as they watch this back, Davis, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, just shoot me an email, davis@holtteamnc.com. You can Facebook message me, whatever. Anything's fine. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing today. I got a lot of good stuff out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I was telling Rebecca, I look forward to being more involved with y'all.
Yeah, we have, I mean, if anybody wants more information, it's NCARP.org. And the cool thing is, I mean, it's in the internet, or not international, but you know, the whole nation. We have over 1,000 members nationwide, so it's been a great kind of referral source for me. We have so many people moving here, so
definitely
seems like every day there's a tagging for a Raleigh, Cary, Durham agent, you know, on the Facebook groups. So
we need to put up a stop sign because there's too many people here. We just need everyone to move in our state. Like, stay in the state, don't come in, don't come out, just move to the area and we'll be good.
Just give us a 1-year hold and then we'll start again.
Right. Well, yeah. The thing is, like, somebody posted yesterday, I'm thinking about getting into real estate in the Raleigh area. How is it? And I was like, it's competitive. You might want to think about joining the team. But I mean, I kind of feel, you know, it's tough right now.
It is tough.
And it's funny because I think so many people assume, oh, y'all are killing it right now. And I'm like, if you can get a listing, they're great. But
yeah,
it's tough. It's tough right now. And it's, I think, more important more now than ever, to make sure you have a really strong agent representing you and looking out. I mean, even on the listing side, that's protecting you. And
no, I think it's huge. I think it is definitely, in my opinion, the toughest it's been in my 8 years of being in the business. I think it's absolutely the toughest.
Well, those people coming into the business now, if they make it through this craziness, they're probably going to be amazing agents, just like those people in 7, 8, 9. If they're still in the business, they're doing really well, right?
Absolutely.
You can earn business in this, you're good.
Yeah. Yep.
So Brandy actually just asked another question. She said, how do you look for new leads? I hear you say a lot about your sphere. What advice for a new agent who doesn't know many people here, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just try, and I know it's hard right now, but anything you can do to be involved in a group where you can get to know some people, even if it's virtual. But if, you know, there are neighborhood groups or whatever. Another thing I think is good is just little Facebook groups. If there's an activity, kayaking, whatever you're interested in, hosting in that group and just saying, you know, I love kayaking, love to get together with 3 or 4 people safely and be able to take advantage of some outdoor time. And, you know, at that point, then you can start having that conversation with them. And then I think, kind of like we talked about, you know, sending letters to neighborhoods, I think putting a CMA together for a house or for a neighborhood and saying, hey, here's the CMA for the last 6 months of your neighborhood, and here's what I think we could get for your house. And kind of, I mean, that's a grind to write, you know, 50, 100 letters in a day. But I think if you got 100, 200, 300 out, you would get a response. I think you would absolutely get a response. And so I think doing some of those activities would probably be a great way to kind of do that. But I think anything you can do to grow your sphere here, whether it's be involved at, you know, kids' school, or like I said, a Facebook group with an activity that you enjoy. I think anything you can do to get to know more people and let them understand what you do for a living.
That's great advice. I tell people, like, just go make friends. That's what Jake Dixon told me years ago. He said, Rebecca, go make friends.
Yeah.
So, you know, how, like, kind of what you already are passionate about, do that at a higher level. You know, like you said, kayaking, rock climbing, beer, dogs, kids, like whatever it is you're already kind of involved in, just do more of that.
Yep, definitely. And I think we get lost in what all do I need to do, or should I buy leads here and do this and that? And it really is just about, I mean, even in this market, it's still all about the relationship. I mean, as you know, like how it's so easy to walk into a house where you already have built the trust with someone to sit down and get a listing agreement signed than it is to buy a lead from some website and try to convince them that you're a great real estate agent and they should work with you. So yeah, I think that was great advice.
Well, this has been awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? I know we're getting up on that 9:30 mark. close to it.
Good to go. Thank you, Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Thanks,
was great.
guys.
Oh, she just asked, how many homes do y'all sell yearly?
Last year we closed like 92 for, I think that was like 36 or 37 million in volume. So yeah,
Cool.
hopefully we'll cross the 120 thresh mark this year.
Yeah. Are you on track?
As of today.
Okay.
Ask me at the end of the second quarter.
Right at the very beginning of first quarter, you're good.
Yeah.
No.
Megan will hold you accountable for sure.
All right, we need it. We need
Awesome.
it.
That's awesome.
Good.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Everybody go crush it today.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.